Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our presentation. Thank you for the chance given to us. Today, we will be presenting our part of research titled The Sun is Reborn, Mindfulness, Poetry, and Voice of Silence. I'm Khada Sunyapistayanti as the first speaker. The second will be Professor Janwarius Mujianto. The third will be Prof. Isi Yuliasri. And the fourth will be Dr. Puji Astuti. Let me begin with the background of the study. Mindfulness in education has been hugely researched especially after the research done by Alan J. Langer in 1989, which has four main principles. The first one is noticing new things. The second one is sensitive to context, having multiple perspectives, and creating new categories. Later on, in 2001, Langer found that mindfulness is evolution of culture. It is supported also by Vail in 2011 that mindfulness creates empathy. And Stern also supported this finding by having this finding, mindfulness creates compassion. It is also supported by Mofian et al. In 2019 that mindfulness develops creativity. It is also supported by Pistayanti and Utami, which find that it stimulates productivity and creativity. In the context of poetry and meaning making, mindfulness is the path to express real voice. Mindfulness is the process where learners are making meaning and reveal their identity through poetry. So poetry is the expression to define their real voice. Mindfulness is the starting point where they recall their memories and experiences, and poetry is the real voice that represents it. From this process, meaning is made and voice is revealed. So the novelty of this research, first, it gives deeper understanding on how mindfulness can give a perspective to see experience and memories as a meaning. Second, it gives new perspective on how mindfulness can stimulate memories and experience as a narrative that creates the foundation of the poetry that they make. It has new novelty also on mindfulness research in the field of poetry writing, especially for EFL learners. Ladies and gentlemen, the letter about methodology will be presented by Professor Janwarius Mujianto.
Thank you for the time. Methodology. Narrative inquiry is used as a research method. Narrative inquiry is the way the knowledge is being delivered through narratives. Narrative inquiry is a method used to explore the narrative behind every story. Narrative inquiry aims to search for the true voice of the language learners, which are rarely heard in a fixed produced assessments. Real voice of the students are needed to know how they are processing in the learning. Poetry, in this context, is a medium to express identity. The way the story behind the poetry is analyzed by narrative analysis, and the instruments used are mindful journal, poetry journal, and interview guide to keep the creative process of the learner's expression and exploration of words. Okay, we go on with findings and discussion. Poetry 1, The Dearest Terror. A slight sight of your presence won't shed any light along any man's path, because your heart burst in bloodbath. Any breath you take are nothing but ache. Should I bite my tongue to make me awake? Run, run, run. I have to run even if I must drag my wounded leg from you, dearest Terra. In this narrative, let me tell you an experience of a person, an experience that changes one's perspective, my perspective. It is when that time I felt my heart race, but not in the way faster than speed of love, faster than speed of death. It is when the time I saw a figure that carries terror in every step it walked. For some people, this figure might bring more joy than awful horrors. This figure, or should I say this thing, for most people, it will bring love than sorrow. Well, I say it's different. This thing is nothing but a creature and carries disturbing and awful odors in its games. Since the first time I saw it, I couldn't handle anything but drawing sweat and fainting sensation. The discussion that we can present here is that according to Mills, poetry is the feeling of society by which feeling of the author is exposed and exploited. Considering that view, poetry is the voice of society, since it is portraits of the feeling of society. It represents the real voice of the society. According to Wittgenstein, in this work, Philosophical Investigation, if you are seeing a thing, you are seeing identity too. In this context, then, poetry is identity because it carries the voice of the poet, the sun, which is reborn, the stories that has never been heard of.
Okay, thank you. And we continue to the next presenter, Prof. Isi Yuliastri.
Okay, well, I will read a second poetry written by a student of the subject of the research. Today is gloomy. Oh, my dearest dream, the black cloud of sorrow revolves around the crying sky. Oh, my dearest dream, I lay here with people dressing black. I want to go. Please unchain me. The rain calls my name. Oh, my dearest dream, my heart and my soul now realize these white flowers and candles cannot substitute the memoir of myself under the rain. The rain, the fictions, and the slip knot hanging on the tree. My hours have arrived for the last tick of time. Let's discuss how about this poetry. Poetry is not only an expression, but also a reflection of life. Poetry is used as a bridge to channel ideas to society. The personal expression can be shared through poetry to reach the awareness of the individual voice and choice. It helps to awaken the society that the unheard voice can be heard and that the choice can be made better. It also helps the society to be more aware of the importance of unheard voice as well as to create image of experience that can be sensed and tasted. According to Malcolm Bird in Gibson, what matters in poetry is the imaginative experience you undergo in reading the poem, not merely the thoughts expressed by the words of the poem. It means that through poetry, we undergo experience we never felt before, the sensation of new experience that shapes the new perspective of the world.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Isi. We will continue with Dr. Puji with our next discussion.
Through poetry writing, regular mindfulness practice, and narrative writing, our language learners are easier to themselves, appreciate their own stories, and construct their own identity in a productive way. In other words, poetry writing, regular mindfulness practice, and narrative writing work together to promote our language learners' self-acceptance and awakening. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we conclude that through their poetries, narratives, and mindfulness, our language learners' stories and voices are heard. And these stories and voices represent realities of life. They are realities of life told in aesthetic ways. Hence, we argue that studies such as ours are needed so as to make language learners' voices heard better, not to mention to make their language learning meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all from our presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, and we will see you later in the question and discussion session. Thank you.